Make sure that we call out the raffle prizes right at the end. Okay, so just quickly we wanted to take this time about Georgia, and people are talking about it at the national level. You have to know, us as a state, we're being looked at and being paid attention to. Why? Georgia is being seen as the new battleground state. And you know what that means? You guys hear of Ohio being a battleground state. Basically that means this state could go one way or another. It could go Republican or Democrat. And historically, Georgia has been, in recent memory, you know, very Republican. And many people thought, oh, there's nothing that can be done. And I have nothing against Republicans. But politically, people spend a lot of time, and politicians spend a lot of money and focus on states where it's up for grabs, where the votes are up for grabs. And the reason why national pundits and researchers identify Georgia as a battleground state is because of the growing Asian and immigrant population. They're assuming that if all the immigrants that keep moving into Georgia, the citizens, would get up, vote, and exercise their democratic power, that's what's going to make our state a battleground state. So we have the power to make this a reality, but we have to do it. We have to do it together. Again, we are nonpartisan. We're not saying how people vote, but it is exciting to know that all these predictions about our state. Hello? Am I talking too loud? Okay, about our state is about our population. So you can see, we grew by 81% between 2000 and 2010, while the percentage of whites living in our state, well, first the whites living in our state, the percentage went down. And you can see we increased by 300% in the last 20 years. That is astounding. Can you guys hear me in the back?
Yeah. Okay,
I'll just talk this way. Next slide. Oh, and Gwinnett, people know this, with almost 58% of Gwinnett County is minority. So this is one of the bigger visions. So we as a community, all here together today and those not here, have done an amazing job. All of our communities are different. Thai people aren't the same as Korean, and not the same as Cambodian, not the same as Chinese. But we all understand the power of working together, and we've done that, and we've shown the difference that makes. But I want you to think about how much more powerful we would be if we connected with other people, other minority groups, Latinos, and African Americans, okay, who oftentimes share similar discrimination under the laws and issues. I really want you to think about that, because I'm going to be honest, no matter how big our community gets, probably at the state or congressional level, will never be so big, okay, to really control or run anything. And we don't need to. The whole point of AALAC is to work collaboratively. And we also mean collaboratively outside our Asian space. So just as an example, I know this PowerPoint, the words are really small. Duluth, 22% Asian, but 58% minority when you add all people of color. Riverdale, where Hang Tran won, almost 7% Asian, over 90% minority. Actually, the minority is obviously the vast majority. So think about that. Think about what we could do if we were willing to work, continue working together, but also work with other race and ethnic groups. And that's something that AALAC plans to do. Next slide. Okay, so bragging time. Last year we worked on the presidential elections with many of the PAN members. Unfortunately, we are still trying to get numbers from the Secretary of State to show total numbers of Asians that came out to vote in 2012 in Georgia versus the 2008 presidential election, and show the difference. Unfortunately, they don't provide that publicly. But okay. But we do have, we do know the numbers of certain precincts that we focus on. Okay. This is an example of one of the precincts we worked on. Thank you. Oh, you're saving my voice. While in 2012, generally, people voted less overall in the presidential elections in 2012 versus 2008. In every precinct where AALAC worked, there was an increase. This precinct actually happens to be in Representative Maureen's redistricted district, which is in Duluth. We had almost 7% increase in votes. That could not happen without Asians turning out. So again, it was really amazing. Next slide. Oh, and then we're looking at the work that we did this year. In Duluth, we focused on the municipal elections. Louis Sang ran. You know, we weren't working for Louis, we were working for the community and just to get people out to vote. We saw, again, almost a 7% increase. In municipal elections, nobody ever comes out to vote. It's really pathetic how undervalued our city councilmen in those races are. But if you look beyond the percentage, more than double the number of people in Duluth came out to vote. It came from 663 in the last similar municipal election, all the way to 1,537. That is a huge jump. So again, I'm sharing this with you. It's when AALAC does voter engagement work, most of the groups know this. We work directly with our community partners. And you guys provide us the energy, the manpower, the language power, the everything power. And we do it together. And these are the results. And I show, whoops, he's cutting me off. And I show these results to foundations and politicians that I speak to. Because what I'm trying to do is educate those in the power structures of Georgia that they can't ignore Asian Americans. They can't ignore our interests when they make laws. They can't ignore us when they're running for a race. Okay, next. We also worked a little bit in Clarkston. We're going to do more next year. Mayor Ted Terry is here with us. Hey, Ted. We increased the vote there, it looks like, by almost 21%. Thank you, Ted. Ted gave me the numbers. No? Wrong numbers. Oh, 4.8. 20.9, 4.8.
20.9 is the turnout.
Oh, okay. So Alice is saying almost 21% increase in registered voters and a 4.8 increase in votes. Is that what you're saying, Alice?
20.9% of the population.
Alice is very good with numbers. I'm not. Too many numbers. Okay, a 4.8 increase in votes. Let's keep it simple. But we appreciated the work that we did in Clarkston, and you'll hear more about from Barendra Dakal, who ran the first refugee, Bhutanese refugee. Okay? So in all, just this year alone, we knocked on 2,273 doors. We talked to 3,520 people. We had 115 volunteers. We made a total of 3,408 calls. Some of y'all got those calls. And we spent 121 hours making those calls. And we also sent out recorded robocalls in Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean, and English. In Morrow, Duluth, Johns Creek, Norcross, Clarkston. So we did with, we did with $1 what we could possibly do, and with all of your help. Okay, so all of that is to say your work and our work together is really making a difference. I cannot stress enough to you how at a national level, beyond the Asian American community, people are watching Georgia and people are watching the immigrant community. So I encourage you, please work with us. Join us. Tell us how we can help you. Tell us how we can help your groups. Join our Pan-Asian Action Network. That's clearly, the main way that we provide mini grants to groups that want to work with us. The more money we get, I promise, the bigger the grants will be. But we're doing everything we can to push money down where the power is, which is really right here. Another thing that we did, you guys know, we don't just do voter engagement, but we are lawyers that try and understand and educate our community on the most important legal issues that we think are important to you and to our state. We also do some lobbying as a nonprofit and try and persuade legislators that our interests are important and need to be heard. But before we did our policy work for this year, we did a survey. We got hundreds of you to complete this survey and tell us what are the top 3 issues for you in terms of your interests. It's small, I'm sorry, but public school education and public safety were #1 based on the survey, okay? And then economic interest, small business, and healthcare access were a close second. Okay, these are based on your answers. These are based on about 400 different surveys, mostly in Gwinnett County. So public school education, public safety, small business and economics, and healthcare access, directly from you guys. And we wanted to respond. So next slide, Alice. I want to briefly give you a look at our 2014 policy agenda. Again, a lot of the materials we've worked on are in your bag, and there's more stuff, I think, in the back somewhere. And save the date, Monday, February 10th is our 3rd annual Asian American Legislative Breakfast and Lobby Day. Okay, the community groups that sponsored our Champions Banquet, you guys are partners with us in this legislative breakfast. So this is your legislative breakfast too. And this year, we're making time to actually lobby our legislators, okay, on these issues. So we will follow up by email. But for those community partners that sponsored our breakfast, it is free. We give you a code to register online. And what we need is for everybody to register soon and give me your address. Not so I can come to your house and eat food for free. But we're going to use your address to look up who your legislators are, okay? Because we want to make our lobby day as impactful as possible. We want you to experience for yourself the power of being a voter and going up to your legislator and saying, "Hi, I'm Travis Kim. I live in Duluth. I voted for you. This is what's important to me." That's how it works. That's how democracy works. It's as simple as that. So please save that day. We want you all to come out. This is, this is really our only signature event that we have other than our fundraisers each year. And the money we raise from the banquet basically goes to this. All right, and invite everybody you know. All right, going on. Our first main thing is trying to pass legislation against cyberbullying. Who knows or has an idea what cyberbullying is? Anybody have kids? Nobody? Who has a cell phone? Who has Facebook? Who has kids with Facebook and a cell phone? Okay, then I'm willing to bet your kids know what cyberbullying is. So back in my day, there was no cell phone. If somebody wanted to make fun of me, they do it in the playground or in the classroom. Now bullying of kids has gone technological. They do it by texting each other. They do it by Facebooking, tweeting, YouTube, all kinds of things. And the thing about it is, some people say, well, I'm not being punched in the face, so what does it matter? It deeply hurts children psychologically. The Centers for Disease Control has deemed cyberbullying and bullying a public health epidemic. It impacts a child's health, physical health. It causes them to do poorly academically and skip classes. And there is an increased, kids that have been bullied have more suicidal thoughts than regular kids. And for our community here, here's the kicker. Asian teens are the most frequently cyberbullied of all kids in the nation. Did you know that? They're also the most bullied in the classroom, but the most frequently cyberbullied. And the main reason, race hate. Okay, it is about race. Not always, but that was the main reason identified. So this is an issue. I don't have kids, I have dogs, but they're my children. But knowing this, and that children are our future, this is an issue very close to my heart. We were successfully able to draft this bill. This is our first bill that we've worked on directly, and we got the sponsorship of Senator Butch Miller, who is a Republican, wonderful man. He spoke at our breakfast. earlier this year. He's from Gainesville, District 49, and he's sponsoring this bill. So I hope you'll join us at the legislative breakfast to both thank Senator Miller and push this through. I also want to note that there is a Democratic version of this bill. It's differently written, but we also think it's a good idea. And that one is House Bill 305, and that's being sponsored by Democratic Minority Whip Carolyn Hughley. And we support that bill too. Okay, the next one is the Family Care Act. Okay, so who has children in the room? Come on, please, some people have some children. Okay, so if you have kids, okay, well, who takes care of their parents or an aunt or an uncle or another family member? Well, you know, my brother lives in a 3-generational household, okay? And it's not just my sister-in-law takes care of when my brother's sick, but when her children are sick or when the grandparents are sick. And basically, this is a simple bill. All it says is, for employers that already give paid sick days to their employees, they should allow those employees to use some of their sick days if they need to take their child to the hospital or for their mother to physical therapy. It's as simple as that. We're not asking businesses to do any more than what they already do. But I think it's something that the Asian community does automatically, but not all employers do. And 23% of workers have lost a job or been threatened, to be fired, simply for taking time to take care of their child or family member. So we'll talk more about it at the legislative breakfast, but it's something I think it makes sense economically. This is one of our small business and economic pieces. It makes sense in terms of our families. And again, I also want to say there is another House bill sponsored by Democratic Representative Roger Bruce that's also very similar that we support. But this is the one we've been working on. Okay, next bill. The last is the Affordable Care Act. Who's heard of the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare, right? A lot of it is, what the heck is that? And am I in trouble? And what's going on? And when does this start? Right. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you so much. Oh. That'll be good for my husband. Oh, shut up. Okay. So we put in your bag a brochure that really tries to cut through all the, look, it's the law right now. So basically our brochure just tries to summarize for you what the Affordable Care Act is, what it means to you as an individual, what it might mean for you as a business, okay? And know that individuals are required to be insured, and there's also information about that in the brochure, and how it works, what the timeline is, how you can enroll. Beyond the just basic information, because I think a lot of people, we've been getting so many requests, tell me more about the Affordable Care Act. I don't understand what that means. What do I have to do? Do I have to do anything? If you guys want us to come out and educate your church members or your business chamber, let us know. We've already been doing it. But something that we've been working on at the state level, part of the Affordable Care Act law, when it was passed, allowed states, if they wanted to increase coverage for people that need Medicaid. If you don't know what Medicaid is, it basically covers low-income families, people with disabilities, children, the people in our society that need it the most. But there's a certain number of low-income people that don't get it. And if Medicaid was expanded, we'd cover 600,000 more Georgians. And the federal government will pay for all of that coverage for the first several years, and then 90% of it afterwards. And it's not just the coverage, but it's the kind of jobs. Hospitals stay open, jobs are made, people are healthier, emergency rooms use less. It just makes a whole bunch of sense. And the reason why we have a picture of a young girl is because the largest group of uninsured people in America are ages 19 to 34. They're not seniors, they're not babies. There are college-age children. So, this is actually something that impacts our youth and our children, but we believe it's also an economic issue. about losing out on a really good opportunity that's good for our society, but also good economically for our state. So that's what that postcard is for, and we'll also talk about it again at the legislative session. And my development coordinator told me I must do this. Guess what, guys? Most of you guys that have known AALAC, we've been around for 3 years. The entire 3 years, we've not had an office space. Latin American Association let us, hang out in their space for free for a year. The Government Contractors Association, Abraham Zhang, let us hang out in his office for about a year before we had to leave. And then my husband, Rodney Ho, donated our attic in our home this past year. All the money that you guys give to us in donations, we use it to do the work. And the work is done by people like Alice, Julia, Sunguk, and Jason. But we have finally gotten an awesome, super, super cheap deal and raised a little bit, half of the money. Cheng, where's Cheng? There's Cheng. Her and her parents have offered us a 2-year lease in the Koreatown Village. Is it Korea Village?
Koreatown Plaza.
Koreatown Plaza, where Yenjing Restaurant is, right up above. So we are going to have, for the first time ever, a free, not free, an official office space. And it's big enough that smaller groups that have board meetings, you guys are welcome to use it. So we are so excited. And you're going to see an email tomorrow, but I think, Julie, you said you put commitment cards out. We're going to do one last end of the year push to raise about $3,000 to help us finish covering the cost of the year's rent for next year.
And further ado, I would like to introduce to you Mr. Tao Lei. Please, welcome. And come up, please. The reason we have 3 groups here to present this appreciation is that with our greatest appreciation, here we hereby present it to Mr. Tao Lei, I Love Pho Restaurant 2 and 3, with this award in recognition for his generous support through sponsorships. The community partners are AALAC, APAC, and VAC. December 10, 2013, Doraville. Thank you.